Ladies and gentlemen, so many of us are chasing love like it's the final piece of a puzzle, hoping that when we find the right person, everything broken inside us will magically fall into place. But the truth is, no one can love you into healing. Real love doesn't begin with another person. It begins with the relationship you have with yourself, and more specifically, with the version of you that still lives within the inner child who never got the love, validation, or protection they needed. Your inner child is not just a memory from the past. It's the version of you that still feels the pain of being unseen, unheard, or misunderstood. That child still flinches at rejection, still fears abandonment, still longs for acceptance. And until you turn inward and tend to that wounded part of you, you'll carry those fears into every relationship you build. We try to find love without realizing we're searching through the eyes of our unmet needs. We chase people who replicate our childhood wounds. We confuse chaos with chemistry. We normalize inconsistency, thinking it's passion. We run from those who offer peace because it feels unfamiliar. And worst of all, we settle for less than we deserve, because deep down we don't believe we're worthy of more. Healing your inner child isn't about blaming the past, it's about understanding it. It's about meeting yourself with kindness, rewriting the narratives that told you you're not enough, and giving yourself the love you once begged others to give. It's holding space for your tears, celebrating your survival, and learning how to speak to yourself with the tenderness you always needed. Because when you heal that child within, you stop looking for someone to complete you. You stop trying to fix others in hopes of fixing yourself. You no longer love from a place of fear or desperation. You begin to love from a place of wholeness, where love is not a rescue mission, but a beautiful exchange between two people who have already rescued themselves. Real love begins with healing the relationship you have with yourself. Many people seek love with the hope that another person will fix what feels broken inside them. They believe a relationship will finally make them feel whole, seen, or valued. But when we haven't faced our internal wounds, we unconsciously bring them into every connection we form. The way we love others often reflects the way we love ourselves. If we neglect our own emotional needs, we'll accept relationships that do the same. If we constantly criticize ourselves, we'll believe anyone who does too. And if we have not truly accepted ourselves, we'll search for someone else's approval to give us that acceptance. The journey to real love begins by turning inward and recognizing the parts of us that still hurt, still ache, still long for validation. This inner awareness isn't easy. It takes courage to sit with the pain we've buried. It takes honesty to admit where we've abandoned our own needs just to feel loved. But this is the starting point. Self-love isn't just about affirmations or treating yourself. It's about doing the hard work of healing what's been ignored for too long. It's about identifying where our self-worth was damaged, where our boundaries were crossed, and where our voice was silenced. When you begin to rebuild that relationship with yourself, you start to realize your value isn't tied to someone choosing you. You start to understand that your peace, your happiness, and your identity don't depend on anyone else. The love you give to yourself sets the standard for the love you allow from others. The more you understand yourself, the clearer you become about the kind of love you truly deserve. The more whole you feel within, the less you tolerate love that comes at the cost of your dignity. Your inner child carries unresolved wounds that shape your adult relationships. Even if you don't consciously remember every painful moment from your past, those experiences live inside you, quietly influencing the way you connect, trust, and love. When a child doesn't receive the love, safety, or attention they need, they begin to form beliefs about themselves and the world that feel like truths. Beliefs like "I'm not enough," "love has to be earned," or "if I'm too much, I'll be left." These aren't just childhood thoughts. They become emotional blueprints for how we relate as adults. You might find yourself over-explaining to avoid being misunderstood, people pleasing to avoid abandonment, or staying in unhealthy dynamics just to feel chosen. These patterns aren't random, they are protective mechanisms created by the child you once were, trying to feel safe in a world that didn't always feel safe. Until we go back and acknowledge where those wounds came from, we keep living from them. We think we're reacting to a partner's behavior in the present, but we're actually reacting from a wound that never got a chance to heal. The unmet needs of our inner child don't just disappear with time. They show up in the form of insecurity, jealousy, emotional withdrawal, or a deep fear of vulnerability. They show up in how we attach, how we argue, how we love. Healing doesn't mean forgetting the past. It means understanding how the past still lives within us. It means recognizing which parts of us are acting out of fear and which parts are longing to be seen and comforted. When we finally give our inner child the space to be heard, to be validated, and to be embraced, we begin to change the emotional lens through which we view love, connection, and ourselves. Unhealed trauma leads to repeating cycles of emotional pain in love. When we carry unresolved wounds into relationships, we often unconsciously recreate the very situations that hurt us in the first place. It's not because we want to suffer, but because the nervous system is drawn to what's familiar, even if it's painful. If we were emotionally neglected as children, we might be drawn to partners who are emotionally unavailable. If we were constantly criticized growing up, we may feel oddly comfortable in relationships where love feels conditional. These patterns are not flaws, they are reflections of inner injuries that haven't yet been addressed. We may find ourselves asking, "Why does this keep happening to me?" without realizing we're repeating what's unresolved, trying to gain mastery over it or find closure. But until we become aware of the root cause, we stay stuck in a loop of heartbreak, disappointment, and confusion. Emotional pain doesn't go away just because we try to forget it. It leaks out through our reactions, our choices, and the type of love we accept. Sometimes it shows up as intense attachment to the wrong person. Other times, it looks like pushing away those who treat us well because it feels unfamiliar or undeserved. Trauma impacts how safe we feel to love, how much we trust ourselves, and how much we believe we deserve a healthy connection. It creates triggers that sabotage intimacy even when we deeply crave closeness. Until we slow down and gently examine the emotional wounds we carry, we continue operating from them. Healing is not about erasing the past, but about breaking free from the grip it has on our present. When we understand our triggers, soothe our nervous system, and offer compassion to the parts of us that still hurt, we begin to choose differently in love. Healing is not blaming the past, but reparenting your inner self with compassion. Many people avoid inner healing because they believe it means pointing fingers or dwelling on what cannot be changed. But healing isn't about assigning blame, it's about understanding how your early environment shaped the way you see yourself, others, and love. It's about acknowledging the moments where your emotional needs were not met and giving those moments the attention they deserve. As children, we didn't have the tools to process disappointment, abandonment, or neglect. We made sense of it the only way we could, by internalizing the belief that something was wrong with us. That's where the shame started. That's where we began disconnecting from our authentic self. Reparenting means going back to those memories with adult awareness and meeting the child within with the love, patience, and safety they never received. It means learning to soothe instead of self-abandon. It means creating boundaries that protect your peace, speaking to yourself gently when you make a mistake, and recognizing your needs without guilt. Through reparenting, you shift from surviving to truly living. You no longer wait for someone else to fill the emotional void because you've learned to sit with yourself in it. You begin to trust your own voice instead of silencing it for others. You begin to notice which of your reactions are rooted in old wounds and which are grounded in the present. Healing in this way doesn't happen overnight. It's a daily commitment to return to yourself with grace. It's choosing to validate your feelings, rewrite old narratives, and offer comfort to the parts of you that still carry confusion, fear, or loneliness. The more you show up for your inner self, the less power the past holds over your choices, your worth, and your ability to experience genuine love. Wholeness attracts healthy love. Love no longer fills a void, it amplifies your peace. When you reach a place of inner wholeness, your relationships begin to reflect that balance. You stop looking for someone to rescue you or to validate your worth because you've already done that work for yourself. The desperation that once drove your attachments fades, and in its place grows a quiet confidence, a grounded presence that says, I know who I am. Love, then, is no longer about completing what feels broken, but about celebrating what's already been rebuilt. From this space, you begin to attract partners who are emotionally available, who communicate clearly, who respect your boundaries, and who meet you in your fullness, not your fear. You no longer tolerate chaos disguised as passion or inconsistency disguised as mystery. Your standards evolve not from ego, but from self-respect. You recognize that being alone in peace is far better than being with someone who disturbs your inner calm. When you're whole, you also love differently. You listen more, judge less, and hold space without losing yourself. You're not reactive to every trigger because you've learned to pause, reflect, and respond from awareness. You can handle hard conversations without spiraling into old wounds because those wounds are no longer running the show. This kind of love feels calm, not chaotic. It feels safe, not suffocating. It supports your growth instead of threatening your identity. You begin to understand that love is not something to chase, but something to align with. You give yourself permission to be deeply seen because you've already seen and accepted yourself. And in that space of truth and tenderness, the love you attract is no longer based on filling what's missing, but on expanding what's already real within you.